It's spring break of 2007. I'm a sophomore in high school and I'm in Cancun, Mexico on a trip that I don't want to be on. I'm severely depressed. It's been about 7 months of kind of a lethargic numbness of declining grades, declining physical health, and declining hope. The last 4.5 years of school, as I'm early in my teenage years, they've been a tragic roller coaster of emotional and physical abuse from peers. My freshman year had been a big improvement in my social life and inclusion in some really cool things, even in spite of the frosted tips that I was rocking in my hair. But the previous summer, 2006, my grandmother had passed, and I had backed out of a few social opportunities, honestly, just being lazy. And now it seems like my friends want nothing to do with me. They've got cooler people to be around. So now this is what life feels like: rejection and disappointment and loss. I'm in the midst of a profoundly lonely and soul-crushing school year. And I've been wondering for a while, sometimes very seriously, if I would be better off ending my life. And I'm about out of resilience to avoid it. So I find myself in this luxurious part of Mexico. My coal mining father recently had received a huge promotion, which took us kind of from a penny pinching working class family to having plenty almost overnight. So this was a trip with extended family to celebrate. I'm worried that we're wasting our time and money, and I'm concerned with so many other things, but we get there, and honestly, I'm energized by how different it is being out of the country for the first time and how warm it is coming from winter where we're at. So I decide to try to let loose. I'm taking advantage of the endless buffets, the water, and shooing away theft attempts from the boardwalk where there's tiny monkeys roaming around. I decided that it was the perfect time to have my first taste of alcohol, and apparently the best idea at the time was to take a very large straight shot from a cheap bottle of tequila in our room. I definitely anguished after that. It's a great time, but I'm terrified to go home from this trip. Terrified that this fun is just like a quick mirage, and that I'll be back to the suffering and then the loneliness in no time. I'm terrified that my impulses, these fantasies of self-harm, will return. And it's not that I'm not trying to better my life. I'm into sports and music, mostly just consuming as much as I can as a distraction. My attempts at playing things like football and golf were largely mediocre performances and disconnection with my teammates. This is the reality that I'm living in. The year before, my close friends and we had started our own backyard pro wrestling promotion. Think like live theater with encouragement from others we had met online throughout the country. It was really an exciting time. We put on some well-attended live shows, and we made some DVDs, but even now, that was on pause. My dating attempts had not gone well, and that hurt. At the invitation of some of my friends, I'd been attending a local church's youth group, which was nice, but I didn't really see why it mattered too much. I like to be creative, so at this time I'm trying to build confidence and friendships, and our school's TV and film club was so progress. But I'm just so worried that all these things, nothing is working out in my life. A spark comes from me before this trip when I get this cute girl to go on a movie date. We'll call her Allison. She struggles with some depression of her own, and we kind of do the trauma bond thing. We go see a movie and we hold hands, but things go slow. She's not sure what she wants, so I'm thinking about her, sitting by the pool and the beach in Mexico. And I'm imagining going home and being more assertive, taking her on more dates, being, boyfriend, girlfriend, that whole thing. I imagine being happy and hopeful about life, that my dreams are going to work out perfectly That is until I log in to check Facebook and see that Allison has just started dating my best friend. It's more rejection and disappointment. But at least I'm able to have a laugh about it. The whole thing is cattywampus. Like, it's a spectacular fail. Like, that's just what more par for the course of what life feels like. And in reality, I'm crushed. And I can't shake the anxiety of the thoughts of what if thoughts of self-harm come back. One night after dinner, I've walked down to the beach ahead of my family, and I'm thinking about what is my plan going to be when I actually have to go back to life. I'm worried about what's going to happen to me. And something hit me as I was walking. During the day, being there, the water was so unbelievably blue, but this night I'm suddenly just overcome by how gorgeous the view is. The moon and the stars are reflecting on the water and the sand, and it like felt too good to be true. And I remember being overwhelmed with emotions. I somehow felt like everything was going to be okay. In that moment, it felt like God was talking to me. At the youth group I'd been attending for a while, the pastor would talk about how God can speak to you, but I didn't know if that was real. So I'm having this experience, and I don't mean hearing God speak in an audible way, more like I just had this strong inner sense. I sensed in that moment that it was as if God was telling me, like, look what I've created. None of this is by accident. I created this and everything to be enjoyed. Not only did I care enough to create this, but your life is no accident either. Life is supposed to be so much more. I love you. Will you walk with me and let me show you what life can be? Can I show you what it means to love and follow me? I'd been reading the Bible for a few months and had been learning about Jesus and what he did. I didn't hear any, again, an audible voice speaking to me, but what I was experiencing that night, like, it was just too real to be denied. I knew just from barely reading the scriptures and hearing some messages that following Jesus didn't make life easier or without pain. But I knew that I needed better than what I was living. I knew that I was carrying pain, and I knew that I had issues in my life. And so right there on the beach, I decided to really start a relationship with Jesus. I learned that God is always reaching out. I didn't have to go to Mexico to hear from him. I had to slow down and listen. And everything changed that night. Life went from feeling like it was gray and lifeless to full of color and joy. Not that anything was easy or removed from struggle or pain. Most of those things continue to be more challenging or more amplified the older that I get. But hope broke into my life on this night. Again, it wasn't that there was anything magic about that specific beach, but I think God used it to get my attention. I felt like he wanted me to go home and commit to following him and finding friendships in the little youth group I had been attending. I realized I did have people who cared for me. I went home and did just that, and I found hope. I found the community of friendships I've been longing for. And my life ever since has been filled with the adventure of experiencing a life with Jesus and all the joys and the struggles of life. I've made so many incredible friends who have helped me see God more and more. I love the community of church. For me, hope broke in that night, and it changed me forever. And it continues to break into my life in many aspects, in relationships. I see in nature, in the mundane, like hope breaks in. I experience God. You don't have to go to the beach or anywhere spectacular. If you're listening to this story and you're intrigued, all you have to do is just pray quietly and ask God to show up in your life. and to convince you that he is real and loves you, to invite him in. And my story is just an encouragement that he will do just that.